The gigantic government sucks. Pursuit of happiness radio is deluxe. Liberty and freedom will make you smile. The pursuit of happiness on your radio dial. Just as cheeseburgers and liberty fries, it's pursuit of happiness time.
All right. Let's see here. A World War I soldier's message in a bottle was found on an Australian beach. And so somebody opened it up. They looked at the note, and it said, "Tell Joe Biden his great-grandson says hello." That's what it says. Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for being here today. You guys know what it is today? It is Monday. It is the first day. Weirdly enough, it's the first day of Christmas time, because that's how it is in America. Thanksgiving is just pre-Christmas for some. I don't know why. I don't agree with that. I think Christmas should be its own thing, and Thanksgiving should be its own thing. Someone pointed this out to me over the weekend, Daniel Turner. Do you know why we go right to Christmas music right after Halloween?
Because there's no money to be made in Thanksgiving season.
That's part of it. But there are no Thanksgiving bangers.
Oh, that's true.
You don't have like a song that just slaps, like just a song about Thanksgiving where you're like, it's turkey time and Hollis Queen. Yeah. We're making gravy and cranberry something.
That sounds like a request to your audience. You know, compose some Thanksgiving songs and, you know, maybe you can get them on the air.
I would love that. I would love to. But sadly, I am too busy producing multiple talk radio shows, and I would love to go out and create content for you know, the Thanksgiving music zeitgeist, if you will. And yet, sadly, I lack the ability to write a catchy jingle.
I'm not a musician.
Yeah, I make that music you were listening to as we were waiting to connect, that people often complain about. I made that with my thousands of dollars worth of synthesizers, and the only reason I do that, Daniel, is because I can't play trademarked copywritten music on a live stream on the internet, or Mark Zuckerberg will take it down and shame me for that.
Well, that's very good what you put together. I mean, so you do have musical talent.
Yeah, synthesizers, sort of. Your grandma would not agree, and mine certainly wouldn't either. Daniel, if you were a New York City voter today,
oh boy,
and you were looking at your options, Curtis Sliwa, the guy in the beret, the guy that touches fannies, or the Muslim communist who eats rice with his hands, what would you do?
Yeah, move. That's what you do. There's no good options here. I don't like to vote to lose, and so people are saying, like, if you vote for Curtis Sliwa, you might as well be electing Mamdani, and there's truth to that. But, you know, Mamdani, I think, has had this thing wrapped up for a very long time, and sadly, Cuomo is really the main reason to blame, and Eric Adams is the main reason to blame, right? When you get lousy elected officials, they do a tremendous amount of damage, and when Eric Adams was running 4 years ago, people said, watch out for this guy. He's a big phony. He's going to be a disaster. Well, this is what disaster leadership gets you.
Let's talk about that a little bit, because outside of New York City, I think it's fair to say that some people don't understand why Eric Adams is hated so much. He got indicted for taking foreign money. He got a political donation. And I've heard the argument before that that's not his fault. He's not checking where all the money comes from for his campaign. And then I've heard other people say the reason he's unpopular is simply because he seemed to align himself with Trump in the 2024 election.
No, the reason why he's unpopular is because he inherited a disaster from eight years of Bill de Blasio, and New York went from the greatness of the Giuliani era. I despise Mike Bloomberg as a human being, but as a mayor, he really was not that bad. He was a little authoritarian, right? He punished a lot of things he didn't like. He remade a lot of the city in his own image. So there's a lot to dislike about Bloomberg. But in terms of crime, garbage pickup, the trains running, all those things that people vote for in local elections, he wasn't that bad. De Blasio undid all of that. And then came along Eric Adams, who was supposed to return New York to a little bit of greatness, and he just continued it. He liked to party. He liked to be out and be seen. He liked to be at clubs at nighttime. He didn't like to get to the office sometimes until noon, right? He wasn't really much of a worker. And I think Mamdani will be the same. People run for these offices because they're cool, right? And because they're like an extension of a great personality. But that's not what the constituents need, is it?
There's what is her name? She's a supermodel named Cara Delevingne. Do you know how to say this woman's name? There's this weird video. You just reminded me of it as you were talking here, of Eric Adams, and he's out clubbing in 2022. Let me put this up on the screen. We're live streaming, by the way, for you as you're listening to us on the radio. He's out clubbing, and he's with her, and she clearly looks like she's coked out of her mind. Well, I have a better version of this. I have a still shot on the screen. Here's a video of a supermodel standing next to Eric Adams holding what appears to be, where did I go here? Here it is, a bottle of alcohol. And if you had to guess, is she just drunk or is she coked up, Daniel Turner?
I don't think there's any cocaine in New York City, right? So I'm going to say, especially at private parties like this with all the VIPs, so no, and this is what the mayor should not be doing. Not when your crime is through the roof, not when your garbage is piling up on the streets. And this is what our elected officials, especially our Democrat elected officials, but it's kind of like the old Soviet commissars back in the day. They pushed their communism. Yes, the people were starving, but life was great if you were married to the mayor of Moscow.
Well, on that note, have you seen any of the footage of Trump's Halloween party? Liberals are pretty mad about this. They don't understand that Mar-a-Lago is a private country club where they have live entertainment 365 days a year. It's not funded by the government. I feel like there is a little unnecessary outrage right now over what appears to be an adult party over the weekend. I don't see any kids in the video, but people on the liberal media is pretty mad about this. There's a journalist in Texas who I was previously friendly with named Scott Braddock, who reports on, I think he used to be the morning show host on this radio station, actually. He's kind of on the left. He used to be on the right, kind of like Bloomberg. And he is outraged at the fact that at Mar-a-Lago over the weekend, they had this Christmas party. He thinks or a Halloween party. He thinks it's bad optics. What's your take, Daniel Turner?
I mean, why can't the president have a Halloween party, again, at his private club? And these are, this isn't the president and his family. These are the guests. And this is what I also dislike about social media and what I dislike about everyone having a phone and posting things on Instagrams. Sometimes you need to just have fun and not have it be documented for the world to share. I'm not going to get outraged over this. We're not in the middle of the Vietnam War. The left doesn't need a lot of reason to be outraged at something President Trump does. So here's just another example of them taking the slightest thing and blowing it out of proportion.
I will say I don't see Trump in any of these videos. So would you say that makes it a little different than the Eric Adams maybe doing coke or not doing coke with the supermodel video?
Slightly, and it's also, it is a problem, again, when your city is crumbling. And that was the issue that people had with Mayor Adams. And, my family is still all in New York City. I left a long, long time ago, and for this reason, and haven't been back. But again, when your garbage is piling up on the streets and your crime is through the roof, and you have all these COVID lockdowns, New York was epic when it came to COVID lockdowns. And, we're talking 4 years ago. We were still pretty much in the middle of the pandemic.
Right.
It was a little odd to see your mayor at some sort of private club when the rest of us were told we had to stay indoors or socially distance, etc.
Gavin Newsom.
Yeah,
French
they all did it.
It's a perfect example. I feel like the more I watch the photos from Trump's Halloween party, where you don't even see him in the pictures, it almost seems like he wasn't there, although I'm told he was. There's this one part where they have a giant ice sculpture that they pour alcohol into, and it dumps into a shot glass through some kind of I don't know how to describe it, some elaborate maze that says Mar-a-Lago. Doesn't this just sort of make Trump seem like a cool guy? I want to go to this party.
Yeah, and again, this is a private club that he owns, and it's members only. You're not walking into this party, there's no VIP section that you're just trying to get your name on the list, right? If you're there, it's because you're a member of this club. Hey, how many country clubs had Halloween parties? Good Lord. How many Halloween parties, especially since it was a Friday? I'm sure there were a hell of a lot worse than this.
Yeah, I got to imagine they probably all do. Hey, Daniel Turner is here right now from PowerTheFuture.com. We will talk about energy. We'll talk about a lot of stuff coming up. Before we get to that, I'm going to do another segment with him. Then Evan Mintz is going to be here in just a little bit from the Houston Chronicle, the opinion editor of the Houston Chronicle. As a matter of fact, some people have been surprised to see that me and Evan are very friendly. He's been publishing my articles lately. I like that. So stick around. We're not going anywhere. More Pursuit of Happiness Radio happening right now.
Listening to Kenny Webster's Pursuit of Happiness, where everyone is welcome, even scum-sucking, maggot-swallowing socialist bastards you used to refer to as Mom.
Hey, kids, you're watching a live stream right now. We are recording segments for this afternoon show on KPRC 950. Daniel Turner is here right now, as you just heard me explain. He's an author, a public speaker. He is an advocate for people in the oil and gas industry. It's part of the reason why he regularly comes to the Houston area. And while I'm doing a little technical work, here's Daniel to tell you what's going on with him.
Yeah, thank you. And you can find more about what we do at powerthefuture.com. And, you know, energy can be a super complicated issue. Obviously, the Houston audience knows it a lot better than most in America. But we talk about energy not just in terms of the jobs, the economic benefit, but there are geopolitical aspects. There are aspects of world peace, where we're talking a lot now about rare earth elements and mining, micronuclear reactors worldwide. So these are really complex issues that are impacting every part of society, driving a lot of the news. And if you want to learn more, go to powerthefuture.com. If you have a question about this or about the climate or climate change or green energy or what did Bill Gates mean, shoot me an email, Daniel@powerthefuture.com. I'll get back to you.
I love that. All right, we're going back on the air right now. Stand by, kids. Don't change the channel or you'll miss the show. Hold on one second here. We still have music in the background from this flippin' party at Mar-a-Lago. All right, stand by, everybody. We're going back on. All right, problems of the airlines around the country. A United flight to Chicago was delayed after flight attendants got into a fight. You know, it actually gets worse. They were fighting over how drunk the captain was. I think that's terrible, Daniel Turner.
I landed at Houston yesterday, and I'm dreading flying out in a couple of days because the TSA line was around 4,000 people deep, 3+ hours to get through Houston TSA. So I'm actually... It's weighing heavily on me, whereas air travel never normally does.
All right, what have you heard so far about the government shutdown? I start every day off on weekdays when I do the morning show, listening to 4 different newscasts while I'm getting ready, brushing my teeth, walking my dog. I listen to ABC News, I listen to Fox News, I listen to the BBC, and I listen to Al Jazeera. And I bet you could probably tell why. Left-wing, right-wing, domestic, friendly foreign, unfriendly foreign news. I like to hear what they're all going to say. And very often they'll all cover the same story, right? Israel is a common thing, especially with Al Jazeera. The government shutdown is a common thing. And the BBC explains it like this. They're like, over the weekend, President Donald Trump spoke to members of 60 Minutes when he said he wasn't even interested in negotiating an end to the government shutdown. And then you flip over to the Fox Newscast, and they have Ted Cruz, who is actually a member of the Senate, who's actually involved in the negotiations of the government shutdown. Technically, Trump's not in the Senate. It's not entirely his job, right? And Ted Cruz says he thinks it'll be over by Wednesday or late this week. And I just can't help but notice, if everyone's getting different news, if everybody's getting a different narrative, if everybody's being told something completely different, no wonder we all hate each other. Daniel Turner of Power of the Future. Tell us all the people you hate, mostly the Jews. The Jews?
Oh, good Lord. I hate Washington, D.C. You know, and I think this shutdown, I put this on my Twitter just a couple hours ago, I think this shutdown has shown a huge problem we have, which is we have way too much concentrated power in Washington, D.C. Now, if you've been there for 30+ years, remember, Chuck Schumer got to D.C. when Reagan got there in 81. That's a long flipping time, right? When people like Marcy Kaptur from Ohio, these people have been in D.C. for 45, 50 years. You want power. I mean, Mitch McConnell, right? You want all the power in D.C. You don't want to lose any of that power to the states. But for example, I just mentioned TSA lines at Houston Airport. Houston Airport has a CFO, it has a CEO, it runs as a separate organization. How come they can't get their act together and say, you know what, we don't need DC to operate this airport. We're Texas, we're our own institution. We're gonna figure the damn thing out. And education, SNAP benefits, all of this crap has to get out of DC for it to actually work.
I don't know if you've ever heard this before, but here in Houston, Texas, especially with the previous mayor that we had, not the current guy, the airport was where they went to do corruption. It makes sense if you think about it. It's a huge facility. There's 2 big airports in Houston, but one of them's the size of a small city, and there's so much happening there, so many moving parts, so much money going on. The previous mayor supposedly had some call him an assistant, other people call it his boyfriend, had a, what was it, something like an intern working there making $100,000, $90,000 a year, and more than senior staffers of the Houston mayor's office. And then there was this deal where supposedly a lot of the local food vendors were getting pushed out in an effort to bring in food vendors that were friends with the former mayor's law partner, and this is just par for the course in Houston, Texas. And then the latest outrage is that they have a mosque, a prayer mosque in the airport at Bush Airport. So if you want to get down and do some praying to Allah, they've got a place where you can go, Daniel.
Wow, and you know, there's a little something ironic about airports and mosques. I guess they're kind of just like tying the two things together, right? It's just, you know, it is a religion that has a lot of history with air travel, to put it politely. So yeah, that's odd. You know, this is then when we look at how come our kids can't read. You know, how come the buses don't run on time? How come if you can't even run the damn airport? I mean, the level of corruption that we have nationwide is mind-boggling. But to get some of that at least out of D.C., I have way more hope of Houston cleaning up its airport than I do of Washington, D.C. figuring out the TSA problem.
All right, let's talk a little bit about what is going on right now with SNAP and education and healthcare. It's always interesting when the government shutdown happens, because you see all the little things the government's involved in, and it forces a conversation on other stuff. Like, would we be talking about the TSA or the need for more TSA agents or air traffic control? Obviously, the other thing everybody's talking about now is SNAP benefits. And so suddenly on social media, I see this big conversation over whether or not people getting SNAP benefits should be able to decide what food they spend the money on. And the libertarian argument is, well, if we must have food stamps, they should be able to buy anything that they want with it. And I always hear that and think, well, anything? What, marijuana, gummies, anything? I think if you're getting government aid, if you're getting food stamps, then you're probably also getting free health care.
Sure. Which
means I'm paying for both. And if I have to pay for your health care, I'd really like to see you use your food stamps for fruits, vegetables, maybe frozen chicken, eggs, milk, maybe bone broth so you can make soup. And I know that's not sexy or fun, but again, I also have to pay for your health care. I don't want you eating Twinkies. And isn't the end goal to get people off the system?
My end goal is to shut down the system 100%. I'm way past my sympathy for, you know, these are supplemental programs, and I am tired of being an ATM. Our elected officials are talking about the 8% of Americans who are on SNAP. No one talks about the 92% of Americans who have to pay for it all the time.
Right.
And no one ever comes to my aid and says, how can we help you, Daniel Turner, you know, farmer in rural Virginia? What can we do to make your life better? All it is like, how much more can you give? How many more taxes can you pay? So that we can then dole out your money to whatever constituency we want. I don't believe 42 million Americans are on SNAP. I believe 42 million Americans take advantage of SNAP, because I would take advantage of it. If someone's giving you free stuff, I saw a TikTok, Kenny, and I was almost threw my phone out the window. This woman was saying that starting on Saturday, the day they run out, my kids are going to literally starve. We have nothing. And I thought, lady, if you get $370 a month for God knows how many months, nothing in your pantry, you don't have a damn bag of rice, you don't have a bag of onions. I have literally, my kids will starve tomorrow. I'm sorry. Your lousy parenting is not an obligation for me to support you or your kids. So I am not about reform. You can call me heartless, you can call me whatever you want. I want all these programs completely and totally shut down. I am sick and damn tired of paying for everybody. Don't cry sick. Don't cry poor. Don't cry I'm in a bad spot. That is what your church is for. That is what your community is for. And if people had more of their own money, then they would support their church and their community and help the people who are in need. Government is done being the ATM.
Daniel, I'm curious, you know, you work in the energy industry, you're very involved there. Is the government shutdown affecting that at all?
No, not at all. It's probably, if anything, it's probably making it better, because it's the government that gums things up, right? I mean, there may be a permitting or a processing going through, but I'm sure FERC is still, you know, functioning. A lot of those jobs are considered essential, so they aren't on the furlough schedule, right? Not every employee of the federal government is furloughed. The senators are still getting paid, right? Your Congress people and their staffs are still getting paid, right? They exempted themselves from the shutdown. So I think, if anything, the fact that we don't have a bunch of idiot government bureaucrats who are sticking their nose in everyone else's business means the energy industry is probably doing pretty well right now.
One more question for you before we run out of here. Evan Mintz joining us shortly from the Houston Chronicle. He's hanging out in our green room right now. I love talking to Evan. He's a brilliant guy. He'll be in the studio in just a few minutes. But before we go, COP30 is going on right now, or it's starting today. Is that right? So this is the
You're not going?
The climate summit in Brazil. I was not invited.
No,
I do not get invited to a lot of summits or Unless it's like a young conservative summit, nobody ever invites me to anything.
Everyone else is going. It is the it ticket. Every year, cop whatever, and this is the 30th year. The 30th year of the end of times because of climate change. And, this one, Kenny, Brazil, was a good choice because it's warm right now in Houston, so you're not realizing that in the Northeast or coming from Virginia, it's already cold. The leaves are gone. It's freezing. I wake up in the morning and I have to break all the ice on my cattle troughs because that's how cold it is. So the idea of going to the land of busty, buxom Latinas drinking caipirinha and doing the lambada for the climate, of course, right? Brilliant choice, Brazil.
Daniel, if people want to find out more about you and the work that you do, where can they go?
PowerTheFuture.com, and it's always great to be with you, especially in person. This was awesome.
My brother from another. Hey, to those of you watching this live stream right now, don't go anywhere. Evan Mintz joins us shortly from the Houston Chronicle. I just got to run in the other room and go grab him and bring him in here. It should be an interesting conversation.
Coming up, more Kenny Webster's Pursuit of Happiness. A safe space for those who love liberty and try not to take themselves too seriously, even if your name is Karen.